Does your product have user experience issues? Do you even know? Well, my friend, you have come to the right place. Are these your users? Does your UX suck? ProjectUX is here to help. First, we'll put your product through a grueling UX audit, where our UXperts will break down your product's interactions, interface, and usability. Second, we'll send your product through the gauntlet of usability testing. And finally, the ProjectUX team will help guide you to fixes and solutions for your biggest UX problems. Are you ready? Welcome to ProjectUX. Today on our show, we have Ian Woodward-Smith from Sprinkl. He's going to share his product with us, with you, and our panel of UXperts, Jeremy Johnson, Anita Cator, and Adam Polansky. Ian, take it away.
All right, so today I'm going to tell you about our flagship product, which is the Sprinkl Conserve, and it is the only smart rain sensor that works with every existing irrigation system out there. So this little green box takes about 10 minutes to install. It's very simple, and from there you provision it using your smartphone. It uses Bluetooth, and then you can put it on your Wi-Fi. I'm going to walk you through our app. So we'll assume that you have already downloaded the app and you've installed the device in your garage, and we'll start on the home screen. So from here, you can tell the status of the device, whether it's scheduled or not allowed to water that day. You can also quickly turn it off with this toggle that enables and disables watering. So you just flip it and it'll turn your system off. From there, you can also see when the last time it was, checking on the history, so how it's been disabled, why it was disabled, and the schedule from it. The next tab, or the next block here, talks about the current weather. So as I stated, we are focused on both conservation as well as making sure that you're not just wasting water. So you can check the current weather, and then if you click in there, it actually allows you to change some of the conservation settings right from our app. The first one is enabling or allowing you to follow municipal restrictions. So depending on your location, we actually take all of those municipal restrictions and we load them into our infrastructure, so that you don't have to worry or contact your local board to see what they are. After that, we have some sliders that allow you to change conservation settings. We can look at both rainfall accumulation for that day, we can look at the last 2 days, or we can even look at up to 7 days of rainfall accumulation, which is way above and beyond what traditional rain sensors are allowed to do. After that, we can also use predictive forecasting. So you can look at the chance of rainfall. So that if you don't want to water when it's a 75% chance of raining later that day, you can go ahead and shut off your system to make sure that you're not wasting water. And then finally, we have a temperature gauge. With those cold snaps coming, you don't want to have to worry about if it drops down to below freezing that night and you're going to water the next morning. This will automatically make sure that it's disabled. You can save it from that screen and then go back to the home screen. And finally, we have the schedule for those that want to set a custom schedule on their app. If you want to do that, all you do is you set your irrigation controller to run every day, and then the app and our infrastructure will act as the brains for it. So you can schedule the days that it's allowed to run direct from here. You just pick the days that you'd like, and then you can choose the frequency as well. You can save from there, go back to the home screen, and that is our app.
Excellent. Thanks, Ian. Panel. You had a chance to look at Sprinkl, a little bit about the app. You got to hear the story behind it. But what we're going to focus on today is the mobile app, that mobile experience, the reason people buy the product really in the first place. Anita, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the scheduling portion of the application.
So I was playing with this section and I clicked on the bottom where it said 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
The frequency? Yes.
Yeah. Well, when I was in here and being new to it, didn't really understand what that was. Is this a custom schedule or is the schedule part of pre-programmed schedule? Right? It's almost like on the first page, you need some way to have a definitive saying your custom schedule is overriding your local settings or your custom schedule is off.
So one of the things that I come away with initially is that this app could use a real healthy dose of information architecture. that's the portion of design where you're looking at the content itself. You're not even really thinking about screens and interactions yet. You're just looking at the way information should kind of roll up and roll down. What's that hierarchy look like? And when you're dealing with mobile apps and you've got this limited amount of real estate to work with, there is some real value in going in and making sense of what all that content is, how it rolls up, what are the chunks that it's in, and you've done some of that where you've got these three areas, but I think you could probably be a little more ruthless in that in terms of figuring out what are the things that why would somebody take the app out of their pocket in the first place? What is it they want to see? Move those things to the top of the list. Look not just at the features and functions that you have, but think about the outcomes that they provide. What does that mean to the user? And then prioritize those things. That's where you're going to figure out what's really got to be on that main screen, what could be one tap in or two taps in. When you talk to people about mobile app design, you hear about the one thing.
Right.
So figure out what that one thing is to the user, not necessarily the capability of the hardware, but what's the one thing to the user, and making sure that that finds its way to the top. And then by prioritizing, you can figure out what the read down is for the rest.
And we talked about some of the elements, like you have the address, right? So and I don't know all your different persona types, so I don't know if most of your users have multiple homes, which then obviously the address could be important for, but I know where I live, and then I think Anita brought up you have an icon of the device, which some people may never actually see the device because once it's installed, you're not really looking at it again. So maybe, that's real estate that you could be using for something more interesting. And when you're talking about infographics, this might be, I see a lot of interesting uses potentially of when are you going to water next, what are the restrictions, what are the settings, and some really interesting visualizations of that data. And right now it's kind of filled with information that's you don't really need at this point in time.
So Ian, we've had a little bit of a dive into the app and some of the initial reactions that our UXpert panel has experienced. I want to ask you, who are the core users or personas that your app is targeted towards?
We have a wide range of personas that we're targeting. First and foremost, or at least the original target of our device, was kind of to the younger connected crowd. People that really want to be able to truly control everything on their app. From there, what we found is there are a lot of older than our target audience originally users that were very interested because they just did not know how to operate their irrigation system. Obviously, they need to be a homeowner, they need to have a yard, they need to be interested in watering it, otherwise they have no use for our device or our app. But those would be the target customers that we've found that we're trying to address both with the app as well as kind of the UX.
You mentioned that you've got an audience that is not quite so young. There are some things that are kind of inherent with that in terms of accessibility. Because I am not in that first group and I am in that second group, I'm also in a group that for whom macular degeneration is very, very common. There's a reason why I got these goggles on. The app needs to be designed in such a way that I can see things clearly and see them quickly. You've got there's a lot of small moving parts that are going on there. So this is again where you can help yourself by figuring out what those real main things are and then devoting the real emphasis and the real estate to those things.
Jeremy, tell me about your feelings about interactions, the actual interactions, tappable items, non-tappable items, things like that.
Yeah, there is not a lot of areas that are apparent that are tappable, so there's definitely going to be some exploration in there. I think there's not a lot of common UI elements because you kind of have this navigation bar separating things, right? And you can tap on those and then you can go deeper, but there's nothing really that says that. So there is a bit of, just as I was using it, just kind of hitting all over the screen to kind of quickly find out like, oh, well, what can I actually get more information about and where can I make changes?
You have a lot of text up at the top. A lot of users don't read, and you could have a help section if you need to describe things, but the Monday through Sunday buttons, make that clickable on that main screen. Don't take them to another screen to do that. Have it to be able where you can turn off the custom or on the main screen. Just make it all one page of configuration. This way there's not all this clicking around. You're exploring just that one page instead of having to go back and forth, and the autosave is happening automatically for you.
That reminds me of two things. One, the municipal restrictions, I don't know why it's tied with rain. It doesn't make any sense to me. That should be tied with the scheduling. And then two, the language that you're using, I'm really curious about. So even in your pitch, you mentioned irrigation. Like, I don't think I would ever call anything in my home irrigation. Like, I don't think, and then you have, like the conservation even as a term. Like, again, I don't think those are like normal words I would use in a conversation about watering the lawn or things that I'm doing. Like, why, just, I feel like all over the app, there's some very technical wording.
I think Jeremy hit on a really good point, that that young person who is seeking to make their home smart isn't concerned with irrigation or conservation.
Even. Right.
Those words don't ring true with that persona, versus, but the words that do ring true with the other persona might be not conservation, but money savings.
But it's also automation in a way. Like, I don't know if that word is used anywhere. I mean, you're automating something. You have this assistant. I don't have to deal with this anymore. Like, I used to have to go mess with these horrible dials, and it's all taken care of now, right? And if you're really good at gauging when it's going to rain or not, like, I don't know why would I ever, hopefully I would never have to go back into the app, right? Yeah. And that could be a selling point. Even like, hey, you never have to go into the app after this one setting.
Or your garage.
Yeah, or your garage.
Adam, could you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the look and feel, the aesthetic nature, iconography, font usage, that sort of thing?
One thing that jumped out at me is that the iconography is kind of a mixed bag, but there's some good rules to follow. When you understand that iconography is a language, it's a vocabulary that you're establishing within the app, and consistency is important in that case. Just like logo design, scalability is also very important in that case. So, you know, the panel in the icon, which you may not even be familiar with, depending on if, you know, who installed the thing. So that wouldn't necessarily mean anything, and it takes up an awful lot of real estate. Same thing with the sun. That's a lot of real estate devoted to something that is really a piece of chrome. It's nothing you can really do anything with.
Anita, what would be the one thing you want this app to do for you?
Well, I'd like it to show me where I'm saving money. So if it is about my watering and when it's watering and when it's not. So give me some idea that, oh yeah, we're not watering because it's raining, you're saving this much money. I think that would be a huge selling factor for you.
The best apps are the ones that do something for you in the moment. And the in the moment activity here is when you tap on the icon at the top, when I've taken the phone out and I'm looking at it and I see that I'm watering or not watering and why. People don't necessarily care how the sausage is ground. And by covering up some of those things, that's really what makes it look magic. Things just happen.
Anita, what are your thoughts on AI and learning or smart app or automation, those kind of elements, and how they might relate to Sprinkl?
Well, I think it's important that as you're designing this and you're marketing it, it was kind of lost on me that it's actually automated. That your system is actually kind of gauging the weather and what's happening, and it knows if it's raining. So it's setting those statuses or setting up the sprinkler system so that it will turn off automatically for you.
And with startups, I mean, you already have kind of, because I kind of agree, like this is actually the customization page, you know, in a way. And imagine doing some fixes and then hiding this page and then bringing up some kind of assistant type page, right? And you'll always have a way to get to that. And then that's kind of where you can gauge your users, right? You have your in-app analytics. Like, are they all switching immediately to the customization page? Well, maybe that says something about your users. Maybe they do want that granular control. But I mean, my hypothesis, and we talked about Nest and other ones, is that people don't really want to deal with that. Like, they want to set some general things and they want it to just work, right? They don't want to go back in and have to deal with that.
So Ian, we've kind of given you both barrels from 3.5 people today. What is your initial reaction to some of the things that have been talked about today?
It's eye-opening. I mean, it's helpful because I spend so much time focusing on what we already have and the platform that it's really hard to take a step back and think about how do other people use this, how would they like to use it, and how do they even see it. So I think from my perspective, it's given me a good bit of homework, and I know the rest of the partners will go back and we'll work on changing some of this, because I think adding some magic to it, looking at the real estate, and really how we can cut down and kind of pare it back to what people need to know and need to use, I think will be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Here's to the artists. Here's to the passionate ones. Here's to the go-getters. And here's to that guy. Find the tech career that's right for you at Dev Mountain.
You know, I want to do something here. May I borrow these?
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to give these to the UXperts and let them hold and handle to kind of feel the packaging. While they're doing that, Ian, would you tell us a little bit about how you arrived at this packaging and why you chose to display it in that way, your hardware, anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, so this is actually version 2 of our packaging. We recently redesigned it, and a lot of that was because of user reactions and their experience in opening our last packaging. One of the very big issues that a lot of our users came across with was when they picked up the old package, they could not tell what it was. So, you know, we had lots of nice language, a lot of probably irrigation and IoT speak on it, but it didn't resonate with the people that were picking up the package, and that's obviously an issue if your consumer can't tell immediately what it is.
That's excellent. That's really good to hear that you're listening and observing what people are saying, even in the in-store experience. One of the things that, as UX designers, that we often fall into the trap of is working in silos, right? And we all have these expertise silos that we function in, but we lose sight of the overarching service design and customer experience and across all of those touch points. So UXperts, now that you've had a chance to kind of handle the box and handle the device and see what's going on, do you have any additional thoughts about the physical nature of the product?
On the box, it talks a lot about the conserve is actually really brought out, and I think we had talked about that earlier, that we weren't, you were using that language here, and here it actually says save up to 30% on your water bill. Like, is that true? Like, have you done some metrics around that? Or?
We have, and in fact, we believe it's probably closer to 50. So 30% is I'd not say conservative, but a reasonable estimate using traditional rain sensors.
I mean, I still feel like the benefits are kind of sprinkled throughout here, and it's not super. I didn't do that on purpose.
Whether we're talking about the package, whether we're talking about the mobile app, whether we're talking about the website, the context may be different. You may find out that in the packaging, there on the shelf, in that time span that you have somebody paying attention to it on a store shelf, you've got a different time span to work with than you do with the website because they went there deliberately, or you do with the app because they deliberately downloaded it. So, you know, finding out within those different contexts, what's the most important thing to know right in that moment?
Right.
I think you should talk more about eco-friendly. I think that's a big selling feature, and I do think people care about that. And I do think people will like to know more about that app and that it's easy to use it and monitor it while you're out and about.
Personally, I love the logo. I love the color scheme. This box would totally pull me into it. If I were in Home Depot and I saw this box, it would draw me because it looks like something you'd see on an Apple Store shelf.
One nit is I would exchange the tab slot for a Velcro piece.
Magnets.
Or magnets.
Magnets are magic.
That invites people to flip it open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we want to talk about the website a little bit. Now, Loop 11 was very gracious to run the website through a battery of tests with a number of users. Those results will be sent to Sprinkl's team, and they'll be able to take a look at how people were able to experience the website. But our panel, from a UXpert point of view, what advice do you have for them and their website?
So there's a lot of things going on here that I can understand why they were done. Always show the product, you know, have the logo there, and also with a lot of the conventions that have come into websites, so many of them look the same now. You got the bands, and then more bands, and then more bands. Back to what we were talking about when we were talking about magic. The fact that there's a panel, I wouldn't have the product in the hero shot. I would have whatever the objective is, whether it's the money savings or the ability to have control from anywhere. I would find a way to make that figure into what's in your hero shot. The fact that there's a panel should be nearly irrelevant. Learn more is probably, I don't know what your analytics look like, but I bet you learn more gets hit more often than buy now. And again, I can see why buy now figures big in the picture, because marketing folks always want it, they gotta have the call to action. You probably still could have that, but that might be a feature that isn't the most prominent thing in the screen. So this might be the perfect place, and they only need to show the panel right here.
You're trying to make your website accessible for people who have maybe low vision or no vision, people who have dyslexia or learning disabilities. It's important for your website to be optimized for that. People with low vision want the text to be live, so even in that header shot that you had, you want to be able to make that text not a graphic. It needs to be where they can select it and allow a screen reader to read it or have it read to them. The fonts that you use are very important. Using fonts that are sans serif, not serif. And then also the line spacing, like having ample leading between those lines is important. And then also inner word spacing, making that a little bit more liberal is very helpful for people with dyslexia to read it. And then also if you can clean up that text so that it's small or bulleted lists, that's really helpful for everybody, that nobody's gonna wanna read a paragraph of content. This, I wouldn't read it. I'm dyslexic, I wouldn't read it. I would pass by that. So bulleted lists are very, very helpful.
And the first time you sell one of these to a government agency, your website is going to have to, by law, be accessible.
508 compliant and accessible.
Yep.
Each of the things that our UXperts talked about will increase your SEO rankings. They strategically look at is text embedded in images, or are they there? Is the alt text there? Is the title text there? Is it mobile first? And then they also look at accessibility stuff, because the net effect is when you are cognizant of accessibility issues, everybody wins across the board. And it's a tragedy that it's often a final thought in the design process instead of the initial thought. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Thanks to our panel of UXperts, Jeremy, Anita, and Adam, and thanks to Ian from Sprinkl.io for coming out today. I know I was really excited to learn about this new product, and I'm super excited to install it in my house and see how that goes. I was also very enlightened by the ideas, the auditing, and the process that our UXperts went through in gauging the usability, accessibility, aesthetics, etc. of this product. As you're out there, use these techniques on your own sites, on your own products. That's how we're going to get better. That's how we learn, and that's how we progress, and that's how we, as UXperts and as product designers, make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. For more great UX content and a chance to win some cool prizes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our email list, and we'll keep you in the loop on all the exciting things going on at ProjectUX. Also, please like this video and add a comment below. Tell us what you think and what kind of things you'd like to see on the show. Also, please share this with your friends in the UX community. Let's spread the power of good design and UX principles together.